Hi everyone. Welcome to HNM Technologies online training. Firstly, massive congratulations for completing Module 7. This is the last final module from Python Mastery course. So, this module is something different from previous ones. We built something real. In this module, we're going to cover file and web automation, web scraping, and Flask, web apps, and REST APIs, NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, and a full capstone project. So far, we covered in Module 6 file handling, how to open a file from Python, and then reading, writing the file, updating that, and then Module 7 is all about managing paths and folders. Today, we combine both and build real automation scripts. Without getting late, let me open a VS Code. Now, section 1, which is a shuttle, copy, move, and delete. And last module we used to OS to remove files, but for copying and moving, we use shuttle here. For this, I'm firstly importing os dot make directories. Here I'm creating a new file, which is naming a raw files. So creating a raw file is okay, but what if it is already exist? If already exists, it may give you an error. So I'm giving a exist. Okay. If it is already exist, then take that as a true for not getting an error. It handles that error. And then file, creating a list of files, a triple R poster in a JPG format, Bahubali data in a CSV file, and Pushpa notes in a text file, and then KGF ratings and CSV files, and they were a poster in a JPG format. Finally, reports in a text file. You can see here I have created as files a triple out poster JPG format, Bahubali, and a data CSV, Pushpa notes, text, KGF ratings, and they were a poster and reports. Okay. Now let's loop this file. For looping file in a files with the open, I am putting this file into a raw files and W mode as a file. Okay. Now it's time to print our raw file. For a reference, I am printing the test files created message. Now let's see whether a file is created or not. See in module 8, the raw files is created. You can see Bahubali data CSV, there are poster, KGF ratings, reports, and Pushpa notes, triple O JPG, and CSV, there are poster JPG. This line will create each file inside a raw files. Then this line writes a dummy content in each file. Now the output looks like this. Bahubali, this they were KGF ratings and the reports triple or poster like this. One thing you need to observe here, the slash. So I'm using a Mac, so that's why I'm using a forward slash. For Mac and Linux, forward slash is okay. But if you are using a Windows, you need to use a backward slash. One thing you need to very careful in Windows, if you are using a backward slash, unintentionally if you use a single slash is a escape character in a Python, so it acts a different if you are using a single slash. So must sure you need to use a double backward slashes. Okay, or if you are confusing with this, and you can use os.path.join that we discussed in a module 6. Use that option, that works fine for both Mac, Windows, and Linux, for every operating system. Let's use our actual thing, which is a shuttle, to copy, move, and delete. So we have created a file a raw file, and inside here we have a files. So now let's copy and do some funny stuff with this file. For this, firstly I'm importing shutil module from pathlib, importing a path. Now firstly copying a file, shuttle.copy or raw files. I'm using a forward slash. If you are a Mac user, follow this. Otherwise, if you are using a Windows, you need to use a double backward slashes. So that looks like this. Okay. So I'm copying a triple R poster, and that copying name as a triple R poster backup. This line takes the file from the raw files folder and creates a copy in a current directory. The backup folder is created here. Triple R poster backups.jpg is created. Now we are moving a file. Now moving pushpa notes.txt. I'm moving to pushpa notes mode.txt. Okay, and see here pushpa notes mode txt file is a mode here, and it is not present in raw files. It moved out. Okay, so before it in a raw files we have a pushpa notes. Now it's not there here. Copying an entire folder. For this I'm using a copy tree to copy an entire folder. Now let's see here raw files backup was created, the raw file and the raw files backup, both folders are created here. And then finally deleting a folder. So to delete a entire folder I'm using rm tree. Now see the raw files backup is deleted, the entire folder is deleted. One important thing, in all these examples I am writing a pass directly using a forward slash. This works fine on a Mac and Linux, but if you are on a Windows, it's always safe to use a pathlib or a OS path to join to avoid path issues. And one more important real world warnings. A copy tree will fail if destination already exists, and RM tree permanently deletes. For this, no recycle bin, no restoring after deleting. In real projects, always double check before using RM tree because it deletes everything permanently. Okay. Now section 2, auto file organizer. Let's build a small real world project, a file organizer. The goal is very simple. We take a messy folder and automatically organize files into categories like images, data, and documents. First, we define a function with the organized folder. The folder path is raw files that we created previously. We cover the folder path into path object, so it works on both Mac and Windows. Next, we define rules to JPG files into images, PNG into images, and CSV and JSON into data, text and PDF into documents. Like this, we give a rules to the files, and now we loop through all files. Here for looping file in folders. Then next, if not file is a file, and we're checking if it's a file, not a folder. And then we find where it should go. A dest folder, dest path. Okay. If the file type is not in our rules, it goes into another folder, others. And at the end, we created a destination folder if it doesn't exist. And finally, we move the file and print what happened. Now at the end, we show how many files were organized. Okay. Let's call our function organize folder. The folder is raw files. Okay. Now let's see whether they're organized or not. So inside the raw files, the files are organized into data, which are Bahubali's data into CSV, KGF rating CSV. So CSV files into data, and text formats into documents, and images into images. See, everything is organized here. This is a very simple but powerful automation script, something you can actually use it in a real life. So finally, this is not just a Python programming. This is a automation. You are saving a manual work using a Python code. Now section 3, bulk rename files. Let's build another useful automation, bulk renaming files. Sometimes you may have hundreds of files with similar names, and you want to change a part of the name everywhere. So that's kind of too much manual work. So instead of doing it manually, we automate it. We define a function, a diff bulk rename as the folder and old text and new text. We convert the folder into a path object, so it works across all operating systems. Now instead of just looking at a one folder, we use folder data or global. This will go through all files inside the folder, including subfolders. And now we check files, a file and is a file, and old text in a file name. So we only process the actual files and only those that contain the text we want to replace. Then we create a new name, file.name dot replace old text and new text, and then rename the file, and finally we print what changed and count how many files were renamed. First I'm calling my bulk rename folder. I'm giving inside images. Now see, before running the files, there were a poster and tripler poster here in images. Now after executing C, so there were a thumbnail and a tripler thumbnail. There were a poster JPG is renamed into Devra thumbnail and poster into the tripler thumbnail JPG, and two files are renamed. We have two files and two files are renamed here. Like this n number of files we can rename, and this is where Python becomes powerful. You are controlling hundreds of files with just a few lines of code. See, we have a practice questions here. So beginner, intermediate and advanced level. Pause the video and go through all the questions. And summary and wrap up. In this video we covered shutil, which is to copy, move, delete, and deleting entire folder using a copy tree RM, and also we done auto file organizer and then bulk renaming. I have seen some most powerful scripts in this video, and next we're going to see web email automation. We send real emails and schedule tasks with Python. And see you there. Thank you for choosing HNM Technologies online training. Bye bye. Happy coding.